All right, last one of these for today. Let's check this one, and here we go. So, this question, we wonder if your employment status, so whether you're employed or not, does that affect whether or not you own a cell phone? Okay, well, look at there. That's interesting. So, they actually asked us straight up which one affects the other, or if employment affects whether or not you own a cell phone. Okay, so let's see. What does that mean then? Where is here on the left is employed and not employed. Up on the top is own a phone and not a phone. Which one of these would you consider the explanatory variable? The one on the left or the one on the right? So, hopefully, you've decided that over here is our explanatory variables. These are the ones that are explaining the other thing. So, conditional upon you being employed or not employed, those will give me the rates in which you own a phone or don't own a phone. And then marginal, this is overall, this is the rate at which people own a phone and don't own a phone. So, how will our fractions go? Well, think of it this way. If you say these words, it helps you. Conditional upon you being employed. So that's out of the 194 employed. That's your denominator. So let's put those in. So out of the 179 out of 194 employed, own a phone. Next, 15 out of the 194 employed, own a phone. Or I'm sorry, don't own a phone. Okay. Next, conditional upon you being not employed. That's this here, not employed. So that amount is going to be conditional upon you being one of the 34 people not employed. That's your denominator. So here we go. 31 out of the 34 own a phone. 3 out of the 34 do not own a phone. Okay, and then marginally, overall, what's happening? Well, that's saying this. Overall, out of the 228 in the sample, here's what's happening. Okay, so overall, we've got overall 210 out of 228, own a phone. Overall, 18 out of 228. So now let's compare. Got our percentages in there. I went ahead and did those. So here we go. Is the fact that you are employed or not employed affecting the rate at which you own a phone? So let's see. Look, overall, 92.2% own a phone. Well, what happened here? Employed, 92.3% own. Not employed, 91.2. Remember our rule. It has to be within 1% of the marginal. So 91.2% is 1 percentage point away from the marginal. And so let me just kind of talk to you about why that is the case. So it was important for us to compare to the overall. When you have a small sample size, just FYI, here's what's happening. When you have such a small sample size, such as 34, and then a big one, such as 194. So when you have small sample sizes, it really limits you on the actual fractions and the decimals that those decimal points go to. So that's why we have to have a little bit of leeway. It's just because whatever the denominator is, that affects what the decimal points go to. So this is as close as it could possibly get in this particular situation with these denominators. So yes, they are within 1 percentage point. Employed and not employed people own a phone at the same rate as overall. So there we go. Let's look at the other one, just to make sure. Okay, so employed and not employed, is that within 1 percentage point of this? It is. That 8.8, so if you did subtract, if you weren't sure, you could go subtract on your calculator. 8.8 minus 7.9, and that was like 0.9. Okay, so close. And then the other one's only 0.2 away. So if you're not sure, take the number, subtract away the other to see how far, if it's within 1 whole percentage point away. Okay, so in my mind, here's what I see. The fact that you are employed or not actually does not change the rate. Those percentages were not affected. They are the same essentially. So you know what? Those graphs would have the same size sections because those percentage rates are the same. Therefore, employment and owning a phone, not related, not affecting each other, not associated, independent, not connected. That's what we have going on here. Okay, so let's write it up. Remember our 3 things, how we write things up. Here we go. Make a statement. First statement is, let's see, what is it? Employment, status, and phone ownership are independent. The fact that you are one thing, they are independent. So there we go. There's our statement. Okay, then we elaborate. So let's elaborate. That's when I say the fact that you are employed or not employed does not change the rate at which you own a phone. Interesting. I can so totally see this nowadays, by the way. I mean, I'm not kidding you when I tell you, I mean, and I don't want to stereotype or anything, but I just kind of want to tell you something I've noticed. I've gone down to some areas in downtown Fort Worth where you had a high population of people that are just kind of standing around because they are homeless or they don't have jobs. By golly, there were people on their phones. So that is so interesting to me that some people, they may not have a home, but they had a phone. So this is saying the fact that you were employed or not employed, it didn't change the rate at which you owned a phone. Crazy. So here we go. Let's have statistical evidence. For example, and here we go. Since these are the same, we can say about 92% of um, employed and not employed people own phones. All right, and then what's our other one? About 8% of employed and not employed people do not own phones. So there was our statistical evidence saying it was pretty much the same for both of those categories. All right. Good job. Hopefully you're kind of getting the hang of it. And then we're going to now go on to interesting problem about, is the class that you were on the Titanic, did that affect your survival rate? And if so, let's see how it did. All right. That's the end of that problem. Good luck to you on the Titanic one.